Are you feeling overwhelmed, always losing things, or avoiding parts of your home? These are signs clutter's taking over, and it's more than just mess. It steals your peace, scatters your focus, and keeps you from the stillness God calls us to in Psalm 46 verse 10. Maybe you're clinging to stuff instead of trusting His provision. But decluttering changes everything. Imagine a home where calm replaces chaos, where you find your keys, and your faith, without struggle. It's time to let go of excess and reclaim the joy of a clear space and a renewed spirit. Declutter your home, refocus your heart, and step into the freedom God wants for you. Start today, seek Him first, as Matthew 6 verse 33 promises, and watch His peace transform your life.
Feeling overwhelmed, distracted, or stuck? Clutter isn't just a mess in your home, it's a burden on your spirit. The chaos of too much stuff can steal your peace, cloud your focus, and pull you away from the abundant life God promises in John 10 verse 10. But there's hope. Decluttering brings freedom. Freedom to breathe, to think, and to hear God's still, small voice more clearly. Imagine a home where calm replaces chaos, where you're unburdened to serve others and grow in faith. It's not just tidying up, it's reclaiming the joy and purpose God intends for you. Start today, let go of the excess, and let God's peace fill the space. Declutter your home, renew your soul, and step into the lightness of His grace.
When you hunger, you are blessed. When you want Him, He will bless you. As the deer pants and as the deer longs, we're yearning for you. We are longing for you, Lord. So we dive deeper, deep dive in Vantage Point.
This is a Vantage Point with Pastor Henry podcast.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, wherever you're watching us from. I want to welcome those of you who are watching Vantage Point on Rhema Gospel TV. Thank you so much for hanging in there. We're slightly late, but we're scheduled to go at 4 o'clock today. I have a two-part today. The first part is I'm going to be talking with a very amazing woman of God. She has specialized in helping people declutter their lives. And it's a very important topic, very, very important aspect of our lives. We need to learn how to declutter. And one of the places Christians fall short in making strong decisions for themselves is in the place of cleaning up, in the place of decluttering. There's a proverb in my country where I come from that says, this idea of this is good, I can keep it, this is good, I should keep it, is how the journey of clutter begins. And sometimes we just keep everything. We keep this, we keep that, we keep the other one. And at some point, it just becomes too much. Some of us are paying for storage in some places that we don't need. Why do you keep doing that? Why don't you declutter your life? Ultimately, once your life becomes cluttered, once you have mess everywhere, you have you're a pack rat and you have things, you have stuff everywhere, it begins to affect your work, it begins to affect your health, it begins to affect your sanity. So today I have with me an amazing woman of God that I'm going to bring on. and discuss decluttering, because this is a very important topic. So good to see you, Carrie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just got back from helping someone with their garage.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. So Carrie is a professional declutterer, if I can call her that. Cast that is called Fullerton's Professional
Mhm.
Organizing. You can find it at Fullerton's Professional Organizing. She's married 35 years. As of a few days ago, was her anniversary. She has two
Thank you.
grown-up sons, and she's been doing this for 4 years, and she's in Texas, in the US. But I'm sure those of you in Canada and those of you all over the world can go listen to her podcast, and you can reach out to her and say, hey, how do I do this? What do I do this? I'm sure she can help you even
Mhm.
online, declutter
Mhm.
your life. But we have a bunch of questions we're going to be asking her today, and we'll see how God will help us. So,
Mhm.
Carrie, tell us, please, how did you start decluttering? How did you start this business of helping people declutter their lives?
Yes, well, I really do believe it was a God thing because I had studied it from the beginning of my marriage and was always trying to improve it with a lot of the books that I read. When I first got married, I just checked out books at the library and I just wanted to be, the good Christian wife, right? So that's how I become interested in it. But 4 years ago, and really a few years before that, what happened was there were some rumors that my full-time job was going to end and I had to pick another, I would have to work inside the store. I did the outside sales. And so I decided to take what happened was someone asked me if I organized for pay. So I started thinking about that, knowing that one day my job was going to end. And so I put out a Facebook page. I took a course from one of my favorite professional organizers on YouTube. And did you know I did that? And that very Monday, they told us we only had till November, and then we had to, our my job was ending in November, and that was August 1st. And so that's actually how it happened. Someone just asked me if I did it for hire because they saw everything I posted on Facebook, and then my job ended, so I went right into it. My first 2 years, I got clients right away, and then my third year, which was last year, I made more money than I made in my full time business. Therefore, I knew that God had blessed it. And yeah, that's how I got started. That's why I feel like it was a God thing, because it was like I took the course on Saturday, and on that Monday, me and my supervisor had to pick another job, and I chose the package and walked away.
Wow. Just a minute, please. I wanted to inform everybody who is on. I'm going to be doing the Canadian Destiny talk at 4:30 once I'm done talking with Carrie. So please, those of you that will be interested in hearing the part two of what I
Mhm.
was talking about, the Canadian Destiny, just hang in there. I'll do that right after I finish talking with Carrie. But this is very, very important. Let me back up and ask you a question.
Yes.
What makes people disorganized? How does it start? People get disorganized or just park their homes and their storages and garages full of stuff. How does it start? What leads to it?
Well, there's two things. Sometimes it's just because their lives are too busy, and they just spend a lot of money making up for all the time that they work. But a lot of times there's some really deeper issues there. Um, there's a YouTuber that talks about her hoarding, and she said that she was bullied when she was younger, and her things made her feel happy. So sometimes it's because our happiness is found in our things instead of in Christ. And but sometimes it's just that we're too busy and we just have too much stuff because we just don't know, we like to buy things. There's just so many different reasons. Another reason is, and I'm going to talk about my mom. My grandparents went through the Depression era. They were poor. And then my mom was taught to hold on to everything. And also my mom, even though she's a Christian woman, a lot of her identity and how special she was tied to her things. She just loved things, and it made her feel important, or it made her feel special. And I think sometimes we need to put more trust in God than we do in how our things make us feel.
Wow. Can you say that again? Explain it in another way so some other people can get it. Just explain it
Yes.
again, please. That's so powerful.
Trusting what God says about us instead of trusting what our things say about us. I kind of rephrased it, but God is what makes us feel special when we give it to Him. Our things should not be our identity.
Wow. So how do you break people? Just so you know, those of you coming on, I can see some people already. We have almost 100 people on TV. And then we have a bunch of people on Facebook coming on. Those of you coming on because of the Canadian Destiny Talk, I'll be doing that. I have a bunch of things I'm going to blow you people's mind away. Just hang in there. I'm trusting God that I'll be able to get through it. But this is amazing too. We have a bunch of questions also coming in already for Carrie on this issue of declutter. But I was asking you, how are you able to separate people from, because I know it's a process. It's some people even need to be ministered to. How do you break the hold of that identity that is tied up to things they are keeping? How do you break that
Yeah.
hold before you can help them declutter?
Yes, sometimes it's very, very, very hard. Like the client that I worked with today, she struggles with letting go of anything. I usually do not leave her house with anything. She has a pile that she's donating to the church. She has a pile she's putting in the attic. Sometimes it's a big struggle. I try to start with what they already know they're ready to get rid of. And that is what helps most of them. Most of them just need to get rid of the stuff that they can make quick decisions on. And then when they see how great the space looks, it then encourages them to let go of more items. Sometimes it's more progress than perfection. And sometimes I have to go a little deeper. Sometimes we pray. And I do have clients that don't allow any talk of Christianity at all, but I know that they know, and I'm planting seeds. But every client is different. Some I'm able to get them to let go of things, and some I have to just trust when I leave that they're actually going to give it to all the people that they said that they're going to give it to.
Okay, so let me ask you a very important question, because I see a lot of people Good to see you guys. Letitia, good to see you. Caroline, Fabian, good to see you. Viona, I am so happy you are here. Fabian, God bless you, man of God. Caroline Fletcher, good to see you. Caroline, what did you say was the excellent point? I'd like to hear what you think was the excellent point. But let me ask you this question. When do you think somebody needs organization? And then, that I don't know if that's right, but in my mind, there are
Mhm.
two levels of decluttering. There's
Yeah.
the organizational part of it, and then there is the removal part of it. How do you know when
Yeah.
somebody needs to have things organized or to have things removed? Which one? How can you tell?
Well, sometimes as soon as I walk into the house, I know exactly what type of person they are and what they need.
Mm,
Um, but then there are also different clients. I have gone into mansions that when you walk in, look perfectly clean, no dust, everything's perfect. But every single drawer, every single cabinet, every single closet was piled with unknown items. So the you know a lot of times they just have to get rid of stuff because there's no room to organize it. There's just nothing I can organize if there's no space for it to be organized in, which sometimes is why you see the clutter on the outside of the cabinets. It's because they've run out of space inside their cabinets and drawers. So you usually I see immediately, and occasionally it's all hidden behind doors, but
we were supposed. Yeah.
almost all every time they need to get rid of things.
Wow. Wow. We were supposed to take a break at this point, but we're just going to blow
Oh,
past the break, guys. That's okay. I'm going to ask the questions and we just blow past the break. Maybe we'll sell what we have to sell or at some other time. Let me ask you a question.
mm-hmm.
Um, Apart from the need to declutter, apart from the need to organize your space, how else does your junk, your clutter, your stuff, your laundry, your things that are not organized, how else does that affect you apart from the need to clean up where you are? How does that affect you?
Well, a lot of times it takes so long to find your what you're looking for. Sometimes it could be just as small as I can't find my belt this morning, or I can't find the my keys. I can't find, and I'm in a hurry and I'm having to go to work, but I can't find where the things I need are. Sometimes it can be your children can't find their shoes. And you can't bring them to school without their shoes. And so that adds a whole level of stress in the mornings when everybody's looking for their stuff because everyone's disorganized. You might have one family member that's organized and that person's waiting because that person wants to get to school on time, or they got to catch the bus, or you have to get to work on time, but you can't find your stuff. So you're rushing, and you're in a hurry, and it's very, very stressful. Or if you have piles and piles of stuff in your house, sometimes visual clutter is also stressful and you don't even know it. Sometimes your stress is there from all the things and you're not even aware of it. And like we said before, some of it's trust, because two things about letting go of something. Suppose you let go of one item accidentally that you actually needed. One, you either can trust that the Lord will provide you the funds to repurchase it, and it's usually one item, right, out of a million. Or you can go to your nearest donation center and pick up another one. Here in the US, it's usually Goodwill. Usually I use the term Goodwill. You can just go and buy another one at thrift store. So, those are some things that, it's a struggle for people to let go of things because they think they might need it.
It's going crazy on both the TV channel and on Facebook. People are saying a bunch of stuff, and I might have to bring you back for another episode where let's delve deeper. With the time I
Yes.
have like 8 questions to ask you in 10 minutes. I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
Wow, awesome. Well, we'll do the best we can, and I'll come back.
Yeah, sure. So tell me, Letitia, Caroline said the point of attaching, we find value in the things we are keeping. That's one. But Letitia did say something about, the fact that when you lose things, it costs money because you have to go and buy it, but it's somewhere in the house, but you can't find it because you're not organized and but let me ask you this interesting question. Is it possible that we are unorganized and cluttered in one area of our lives? For instance, in the car, but our house is clean, or in the bedroom, but our living room is clean. Is that possible? Can we have one phase of our life very clean while the other is needing decluttering? Do you understand my question?
Yes. I have had that as well. I went into a home where it was just his home office got out of hand, and he had me come in for 3 hours, and we got the office under control. And then he felt great that he could continue doing the rest. It was a small office, but he had just let things pile up on on both desks and on the floor. And so I just quickly went through and said, is this keep or let go? Keep, let go, keep, let go. That way we did all the fast keeps and let goes, and all the maybes he could deal with later. But it made a huge difference, and the rest of his house was organized.
Interesting. How about this? I don't want to ask you scientific questions, but I'm going to ask you. I'm sorry, you're going to be a doctor and a psychologist all at once today.
Yes. Yes.
What does it say? Do you have any idea, or have you studied this? What does it say where somebody is cluttered? For instance, if it's the bedroom, or if it's the office, or if it's the car, what does it tell you about the person? Can you help people figure out why a certain place is cluttered? Why? Because I've seen people who it's the bedroom, or it's just the bed, but everywhere else is cool, or it's the bathroom, or it's the storage room, or it's, what does it say? How does that, what, I don't know if you understand my question, but what does it say of a person where they are cluttered and needing organization?
Yes. Well, sometimes the reason it's cluttered in those areas is because they're the areas that their family, the outsiders are going to see, like if they have company, well, they're going to keep, sometimes they're going to keep their kitchen clean because, bugs, it'll cause bugs or rodents. So they know they have to keep the kitchen clean. So sometimes they'll do that, and they'll keep the living room clean because if guests come over, those are the areas they will see. But some have attention deficit disorder and depression, and that, I don't know about particular rooms, but I do know that some people have to see their stuff. If they have attention deficit disorder, they have to see their stuff. And then they struggle to keep their stuff looking nice and neat because they're afraid if they put it in a cabinet, they're going to forget it's there. So you have some that need to see their stuff, and then you have some that put it into cabinets. They don't want to see it. they don't want anyone else to see it, but then they don't come back and deal with it. They procrastinate. And there's no room for it, so they just shove it. So I don't know about particular rooms per se, but there are different reasons for clutter.
Okay.
Because they feel like it has to be all out in the open.
Mm. I just wanted to say, for those of you who would love to hear me talk about Canadian Destiny, I'm going to do that right after I talk with Carrie. I might go a little longer with Carrie because I'm enjoying what we're talking about, and I can see a lot of you have questions and some interest. Carrie, I wanted to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go a little deep. Let's try and heal wounds. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
let's try and heal wounds. What would you say are the top, and I hate to use this language because I always like to be positive, but if you could
Yes.
talk to us, if you could talk to anybody and tell them habits they should overcome, vices or failures or deficiencies we should
Mm-hmm.
overcome to help ourselves start decluttering and organizing ourselves, what
Mm-hmm.
what are the top 5 vices or bad characters that we need to start overcoming if we want to declutter and organize our lives?
Um, well, I think one of the things is, and I think COVID kind of taught us a little bit that we need to slow our lives down. We need to figure out exactly what God wants. What is God's plan for me? Let me use myself as an example. Um, if we're always so busy, even if it's God's work, but God didn't call you to it, you can be too busy. That's one thing. Slow your life down. Make sure you have time for your family first on your calendar, and then 1 or 2 church activities that you're called to, and let go of the other activities that you're not called to. That's one thing I have
Mm,
learned.
mm,
And
mm,
there's a pastor, I think the last name is Comer, Comer, and he wrote a book, The Elimination of Hurry. I can't remember the exact title, but it was about the elimination of hurry. We're too busy. That's one thing. The second is it's good to make sure that you've gotten rid of just enough stuff so that everything has a home. And the home has to be like your toothbrush. The reason we put our
wow.
toothbrush and our toothpaste back where it goes, because most people brush their teeth by the sink and then they just put their toothbrush. Everything that we put away should be as easy to put away as it is to leave out. That's one thing. Just like your toothbrush, you brush your teeth and you put it back normally. Now, some people struggle with putting the cap on the toothpaste, but that's a whole different that's a whole different thing. But everything, like where I'm sitting right here, everything for my computer is in this space. Everything that goes into the dishwasher should be near the dishwasher. Everything
Mm,
that goes into the toaster should be near the toaster. We shouldn't have to walk on the other side of the kitchen to get our bread to put it in the toaster. Saving steps is another. They say we need steps, to lose weight, but we're talking about saving steps in the kitchen, and when it comes to putting things away, those are very important. Having the things easy to put away.
mm,
And sometimes there's habits I have even, I'm going to use myself as an example. If I take my shoes off next to my bed every time I get into my bed, instead of taking them off in the closet, I put a bin that slides under my bed so that I can just easily put my shoes in that bin and slide it under my bed. That way that stays neat. When I get dressed in the mornings and get undressed, I do it in my closet. Therefore, the dirty clothes, everything's right there. My dirty clothes hamper is in there. My decluttering basket, keeping a decluttering basket in your closet. So when you put an item on and you see that it's torn or you see that it doesn't fit, you can go ahead immediately and put it in that decluttering basket. And then once a week, whatever's in the closets in the decluttering basket, you can declutter easily as well because it's convenient. I have even seen, now, I mean, that's the way I do things, but I've read books where this lady said that her entire house was so cluttered, she went ahead and put a decluttering box in every room of her house. And then once her whole house was decluttered, then she only kept the ones in the closets. But sometimes we have to do extreme things to break habits. Another habit, for example, this isn't a decluttering thing, but it's a mindset. If I want to drink more water, and I usually forget to drink water, but I usually always drink coffee, I'm going to put my bottles of water by my coffee pot. Then while my coffee pot is making coffee, I will drink my water. Or if there's a habit that you need to start trying to implement, maybe it's putting the dirty clothes hamper right in the middle of your bedroom until you get the habit of putting your dirty clothes in the dirty clothes hamper. Once that habit is established, then you might put it in the closet or in the corner of the bedroom because you've developed that habit. Sometimes we have to do odd, out of the box things to break a habit.
Wow. Very interesting. I want to ask you a question, but I want to tell a story before I ask that question. We're going to go, if you have a few more minutes.
Oh yeah, I have plenty of time.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I want to tell you guys a story because it will answer some questions you guys are asking. And I'll ask Carrie to throw in her professional understanding to it. A few months ago, I was in Hamilton with a friend of mine. I was staying with a friend in Hamilton, and I was walking from his house to the library on that same street. And then there's this person that I knew was having drug issue and homelessness, and I'd been seeing him on the street every time. And then one day it occurred to me to minister to him. So I pulled him aside one day and I gave him a bag that had bread, sardine, and food stuff in it. And then I said, I want to pray for you. Would you like me to pray for you? And I really didn't know what to expect praying for him. But I went ahead and prayed with him. I grabbed his hand and I prayed, and I rebuked the spirit of homelessness. I rebuked the spirit of drug addiction. I rebuked the spirit, whatever spirit was troubling him. And God is my witness. I didn't know what to expect. I thought I was just doing, how this radical evangelism without knowing that the power of God can be so real. Can I tell you guys what happened? He looks up at me, and then he has this teary eyes. So he wipes his eyes, and then he turns around and says, thank you, and walks away. And I walk into the library, but I go inside and I stop and I'm looking at him from inside. He can't see me, but I can see him. And guess what he does? This will blow you guys away. He has this cart that has bags and bags in it, right? He brings all of the bags out, and then he opens them one by one, and he's just ripping things out of the bags. And you won't believe it. A lot of the bags were just stacked full of other bags, it was black garbage bags, and there was just cardboards folded and, dumped into it. And some of you are asking the question, is hoarding and clutter tied to trauma? Yes. That's why I'm
Yes.
telling you the story. And so I was like, what is he doing? And God said to me, he's healed. And the trauma and the issues he had is cleared to the point that he's realizing that he is carrying a lot. And God is my witness. This guy was pushing 2 carts that were loaded and things were falling off, and I'm wondering, have you ever wondered why these homeless people have so much stuff, and they fight about it, they fight over it, and they are gathering and gathering. So those of you asking questions, is clutter related to trauma, PTSD? Is clutter spiritual? Yes, there are spiritual
Yes.
aspects of it, so much spiritual aspects of it. And part of one thing that it's you see it on the streets all the time. You see, I don't mean to say you're crazy, but you see crazy people sit down on the street and they are looking for something in the bag. They remove everything and they're talking to themselves. Then they'll put it all back inside again. And then they'll tie up that bag. They'll open the other bag. There's nothing in particular they are looking for, but their trauma is attached to the things they've gathered. And my goodness, once healing comes, you see them gradually start looking at those things. And why am I packing all those things? Why am I packing? I have more to tell you, but what do you say about that, Carrie?
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. That is, in I don't know if you see the show Hoarders where you're at, but in the United States, there's the show Hoarders. And like I said, there's a YouTuber called A Hoarder's Heart. I think that's what it's called, A Hoarder's Heart. And she explains how, trauma, she was bullied as a child, but the real trauma came by her abusive boyfriend. Now she's married and has a great relationship now, but she struggled to get rid of things because those were the things that made her feel beautiful and cute and pretty. And
Wow.
and we're not talking about, sure, a lot of us like to have a nice blouse and some clothes, and a lot of us love to look nice, and that is fine. But when you can't walk in your home because there's too much stuff, because you're afraid, I have been in rooms where I was afraid I would fall and trip and get hurt because there was not enough room to walk. Now that is when there's a real problem. Being messy is normal, but what we all need help with is having a home for everything so that we can put it up. And yes, trauma is a big factor. I had one client tell me about a time, she was from another country, and I don't really understand. It was stuff that happened when she was little, so I must have been even younger. So it's like they had money and then they didn't have money and they had to really scavenger for food, and her dad had to scavenge for food. So now she's rich, had a huge mansion, but could not get rid of anything for just in case the economy crashes and she's homeless again
My
or has to
goodness.
scavenge for food again. So she has
Wow.
every book about how to survive in the
Survive.
wilderness. And this is someone, when I say a mansion, I'm talking about the basketball court, the theater room. She has, a mansion, but she had every book on how, in case she loses everything, how she's going to survive in the wild. She has a whole pantry full of vitamins, spends thousands of dollars on vitamins.
Wow.
Which I'm okay with vitamins. I'm just saying, when you have enough money to spend $1,000 a month on more and more and more vitamins. I don't think I spent $1,000 on vitamins. So there's a real, that trauma of losing everything when she was a kid and her dad having to scavenge for food, that traumatized her to where she doesn't ever want to be in that position again. She has a coffee maker, and then she has a hand cranked, coffee bean thing, so that if she has to make coffee out in the wilderness, she can still make coffee out in the wilderness. So it's that deep. So it doesn't matter if you're rich or still poor. That trauma is what's keep holding them back. And some of them aren't Christians. Some that I work with aren't Christians. So it's very hard to convince them that they need to trust more in God's provision than all of the things that they're holding on to in case they lose everything.
Well,
It's
go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was just going to say it again. I guess it's all trauma. A lot of it's trauma related.
Wow. Good to see you all. Bethel Telaho in Niagara region from Canada is watching. And Jean Brown Fine, I think you're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you're watching. Letitia is in New Jersey, USA. Caroline is in Canada watching, all on Facebook. And those of you on TV, I'm sorry I haven't paid much attention to you today. It's been just good talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you one more question before we close today. If you, no, I have two questions that I must ask you, so it can be one.
Okay.
Who needs decluttering most? Is it men or women?
Ooh, that's a good one, because sometimes men can also hold on to a lot of clutter.
Yeah.
I would say, though, it's mostly women, but there are a lot of men.
Yes.
Uh-oh. No, but there are a lot of men. There are a lot of men out there that
I know
hold on to a lot of clutter.
I know. My neighbors, I have an apartment in Atlanta, not Georgia, and my neighbors are like, up there. Everybody is wealthy. Everybody owns their land. Everybody owns their home. In some cases, like when you were talking about survival, I know homes where they have bunkers. I used to have a small 5 foot by 3 foot bunker in the house in Atlanta where I was hiding gas and then food for survival and stuff like that, on the ground. I'm telling you, until I moved from that house. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. One more question.
Yeah, I saw that during COVID as well.
Yes. One more question I wanted to ask you was, if you were to speak to mothers, what would you tell them to help them start cleaning up, decluttering, and organizing their lives? What would you say, especially they have kids, they are busy, they have a job, they come back and life and all of that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'm going to tell mothers, and I'm talking about mothers that just normal, mom lives, right? Busy, normal mom lives, not those that had trauma, but those that just have a busy life. Your family is your first ministry, but also you're in a season where you have little children. So give yourself some grace, mercy, and grace, because once your children get a little older, it will be a little bit easier. But you can start with 5 minutes a day, and then move up to 10 minutes a day. There are other organizers that say, put your home to bed when you put your kids to bed. Before you put your kids to bed, put your home to bed. So have each kid pick up their room while you and your spouse pick up the living room and the kitchen, and make sure that that is done before you go to bed. That's one tip that, but there are so many things, because people are all different. So it's those are just some tips to just start small. Start with the very smallest area. The lady from Hoarder's Heart, she started with her bathroom because her bathroom, she was the least attached to the things in her bathroom. When I first got married, I would start in a drawer. You can start in one drawer at a time, one cabinet at a time, one shelf at a time. Marie Kondo would say, take every single clothing item out of your closet and then start from scratch. I don't say do that, because then
That's
you pull
a
it
lot of
all
work.
out,
That's a lot of work,
and
and it can scare people.
it's overwhelming. I
Yeah.
say, if you want to organize your closet, start with the shoes first. Declutter and then organize the shoes. Then your blouses, then your pants. Start with one small area at a time, because sometimes the hardest part is just getting started.
Hmm.
And when you have little kids, you do have to give yourself grace, because kids are going to be kids, and you don't want to be. The one thing you don't want to do is, my husband is the messier one. I can either choose to love him anyway, or I can yell at him until we die. You have to choose. Sometimes you have to choose relationship over discord.
Hmm.
And that's, because I organized for my husband, I organized for him, but it just isn't going to work.
Yeah.
I have to love him anyway. And
Yeah.
that's another thing I tell families. Sometimes you just have to love them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. This has been very enlightening. We have a bunch of questions that we would need to ask you. So I'm going to have to schedule to bring you on another day. And so I want to ask you quick questions about what you do. So you have a podcast where you talk about decluttering and organizing, right?
Yes.
What is it called? What is it called?
It's on Spotify. I usually go on Pocket Cast, but it is Spotify. And then I have YouTube, and it can be found just Fullerton's Professional Organizing.
And your website is also Fullerton's Professional Organizing, right?
Yes. The only
www.
difference is Instagram. It was too long, so it was Fullerton's Pro Organizing. But yes, that's my website, and absolutely.
Do you have the apostrophe S, Fullerton's, or it's just?
Oh no, with the web address, there's no apostrophe.
Okay, good. So just everybody take note. There's no apostrophe. So it's Fullerton's.
Yeah, there's no apostrophe in the web address, but that was it.
Fullerton's Professional Organizing. Sorry, and she had a podcast which is also on YouTube, Fullerton's Organizing. You can find her there and listen to more of this. We're going to bring you on question and answer session where we will have you answer maybe 100 questions in 5 minutes. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We'll bring you on. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the things you've shared. Do you have a last word you'd like to leave people with?
Just thank you for having me on, and thank you for all the questions that were asked, and I appreciate it. And just what I've said before, just trust God, because if you do get rid of something, that you needed, he will help you get it again. And we just need to trust the Lord for our identity instead of our things, and
Mm.
give ourselves grace and mercy,
Wow.
and start small.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so very much. I'll be in touch with you after today when I finish what
Yes.
I'm doing. And you're free to leave when you want to
Okay.
once I turn off, and then we'll talk later. Thank you. So, thank you very much, Carrie. I'll be in touch and I'll talk to you later. But we're going to move over to the second part of what I wanted to do today, which is to talk about Canada's destiny. And I think I'm going to say a few things that a lot of us should get to know. And so, please, if you have friends who you would love to hear this, tag them, tell them, hey, come online. Henry wants to share some things with us. And America too. Those of you in the US have to hear some of the things I'm about to say. I've some of the things I'm saying, I've known them for about 3-4 years, but I've just kept them. And the reason I've kept them is because most of the things, 80% of the things God shows me, he shows me because of my position in the office of an intercessor and as a prophet. But he doesn't tell me things just so I can go talk about them. He tells me things so I can position myself and position my prayers and the prayer groups that I lead, to be able to pray for some of these things. So you will see that I'm saying things that you've rarely heard anything about. The last time when I spoke, I said you will see a talk about the boundaries and the border of Canada. And trust me, it's in the news already. And it's not yet the fullness of it. So we'll get to that. Now, the first thing I want to say is the reaction with church should be having. Canadian reaction to all the news we've been hearing. There are 3 things we should not do. Please take note. 3 things we should not do. Number 1, you shouldn't be afraid. You should not be afraid. I think Colleen Romeo was telling me on one of my posts that she had a dream that Canada, she saw the map of Canada, an elastic band, and it was just squeezing and squeezing, and she's been crying about what Canada is going to go through. I want to say this: we should not be afraid. Let me tell you why. See, if we know that God has spoken certain things about Canada, we should not be afraid when US, Trump, or anybody says anything about Canada, because our hope is in God. Our trust is in God. I hope you see that. But if our hope wasn't in God, that's when we begin to react in fear, or in the second reaction that God says we should not is anger, fear and anger. We should not join the crowd that is angry with America or angry with Trump or angry for just being angry. We should not join that crowd, because both reactions are a sign of the absence of a faith and trust in God. That's very important. The third reaction is the reaction of apathy, the reaction of I don't care, it's not going to affect me, it might not be in my time, or whatever they want to do, let them do. That's the third wrong reaction. One of the reasons why we are where we are today is there is a lot of apathy among the Christians in Canada. We've never ever cared. It's never bothered us, what destiny Canada would have, or where God will take Canada to. And God is now giving us the opportunity. The church needs to choose an identity for Canada. The church needs to be engaged in choosing an identity for Canada. If we don't join in, if we don't get engaged, if we sit back, then don't be surprised when Canada begins to choose. I see a lot of things on Facebook, and I rarely comment on them. And a lot of people have just stupid ideas. And I'm sorry to insult any idea you've read there. There was one I was just reading a few minutes ago on Facebook, trying to explain what is going on. And part of what they're saying is Canada is mad. Canada is angry. Trump is doing this. Americans are doing this. And some people even Doug Ford was doing this, which is very wrong. When Doug Ford was trying to pit Americans against Trump, very, very wrong move. A very wrong move. It's like when you see a father and a son fighting, and you are the mother, instead of settling it, you try and make them fight more. That's what was going on, and that was very, very wrong. And sadly, that was more reason why Canada and Doc Ford would lose the battle. That was a very wrong thing to do, saying, Canada, we know you people are good. It's your leader who is doing this. He's causing chaos. That was just horrible. It's easy to say that, well, he started it. Yes, but two wrongs don't make a right one. And that is even if he is wrong. Now, let me explain certain things. It's important to say this. The problem that Canada is having today is a problem of choice. Who do we choose? Who do we choose? Let me give you a good illustration. Canada is closer to US than Cuba is. The Bahamas is closer to US than Cuba is. Do you know that? The Bahamas, the island of the Bahamas, is closer to US than Cuba is. But America does not have, like, what would you call it, a military base in the Bahamas, at least not to my knowledge. America does not have a military base in the Bahamas. Let me show you this map while I'm talking so you understand what I'm saying. I hope I can. Okay, so yeah, this is it. I think this is it. Oh, no, not this one. Sorry. Not this one. This is not the right. That wasn't the right one. I want to show you a map because that would help us understand what I am talking about. Sorry, just a minute. Yeah, this one. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this. So this is America. This is Florida. That's Miami right there. That's the panhandle, the lower part of Florida. That's it right there. You can see Miami right there. If I pull down, and you see that's Florida. That's Fort Myers. Now look at the distance between. That's the Bahamas. You see, this is Nassau, the capital. This is Bahamas Island. You know, those are the islands that make up Bahamas. There's a bunch of islands here. Now this is Cuba. Guantanamo Bay is somewhere around here. Now, from here to here is about 90 miles. From here to here is about 80-something miles, 70-something miles actually. But America was threatened by this more than threatened by this. Have you ever asked yourself why? Some of you remember when there was a Cuban missile crisis because America was afraid that Russia had missiles here 90 miles. And the thing is that the reason is this: they are afraid that if you're to shoot a missile from here, it would enter the US and cause havoc before you can get a military jet up in the air to kind of what's the word I'm looking for, to obstruct it, so to say. Let me use that word. But why was Cuba positioned to be an enemy of the US faster than Bahamas was? Bahamas is closer. I'll tell you why. The ideology, the political ideology that was prevalent in Cuba at that time, which it still is, and the leader at that time, Fidel Castro, was a man that was positioned in antagonism against America and American politics. And so America's reaction to it was what we saw. And naturally, this point will also help you understand the Ukrainian and the Russian battle. If America had problems that Cuba was close to Russia and Russia should not have a base right here, that's why, to solve the problem, they decided that America would have a military base, you know, that included Guantanamo Bay, which is where they put the prison for terrorists. And there were two reasons for that. We don't have to go into it. But if America would want that here, 90 miles of water, and this water is some of the most shark-infested waters around here, you know, if America would want that safety here, imagine the case of Russia and Ukraine, which is just boundaries separating them. And by the way, it was one country, Soviet Union, in the past. I hope that makes sense to you. So when Ukraine says we're going to join NATO, which is becoming a part of the alliance between European nations and America and North American nations, because NATO is not American treaty organization or whatever it is, you realize that there is some other things behind it. Now understand the same case with Canada. This is what is going on, and one of the reasons why I'm explaining all of this is that you don't have to be afraid that somebody has this objective to ultimately destroy America and make America or make Canada a part of America. That's not what the plan is. The plan is there is a struggle for the identity of Canada. Canada needs to make up its mind. And why he says, and Canada, we need to understand this, why he keeps talking about being a 51st state is this. If you are a country of your own, but you constantly choose to be antagonistic with us, you choose our enemies, your leaders choose our enemies, then we should not be this close, or if we're this close, we should annex you. He's only making you think. This is what God told me. There's nothing more going to be about it. If Canada has cool heads that prevail, if the leaders get smart, they know what to do about this. They exactly know what to do about this. Okay, there are some financial aspects of it. There is some financial arguments to what is going on, which the Lord has showed me. I don't know whether that's all of it. There might be more, but this was just the little that God showed me. And I explained some of it to you again, and I'm going to use the map again to show you. But let me say this. One of the reasons they will be interested, or when I say days, I'm talking about America, will be interested in the Great Lakes. There are 3 lakes. They're the Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, and Lake Ontario. One of the reasons why they will be interested in it is that one of the things Trump is doing is he's trying to position America as the greatest country in artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence needs 2 things. It needs a lot of electricity, and it needs a lot of cooling, water. So electricity, you can use water to form, form hydro, or you can use water to cool your machines, cool your engines, that run your electricity. So you need pure natural water. You need a lot of it, and you need it to be, available in a way that you can utilize it and constantly utilize it. That's why he's looking at the lakes. That's why, for instance, Buffalo is one place that a lot of AI companies are settling in now. They have to stay close to water because of those points. Now, that's what is going on. Now, if Canada comes in and says this, and we need to, why should Canada do it? Well, that's the problem. Well, our mind is, why should we do it? Then what we're doing is we're being antagonistic to the neighbor who has a reason to be offended. I'll be frank with you. America has a reason to be offended. So let's go into some of it. I'm going to play out some of these things so we'll see it. A lot of people don't understand that, for instance, America bends over backwards in a lot of what you would say economic policies for Canada. They bend over backwards a lot. And when somebody gives you all of these favors, the first important thing you should do is, for instance, be upfront about it. When I see the leaders shouting back and saying, if they tariff us 25%, we're going to tariff them 25% more. And then Trump says, go and listen to it. Don't let the press fool you. Go and listen to it. Trump says, it will be reciprocal. Whatever you do to us, we'll do to you. And so this is what I did. I went to ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, and I went to Grok. Grok is the AI that X or Twitter uses. And I just typed in a question. I said, can you make me a list? If you go to, Google Gemini, you may not get a good answer. Gemini is so biased, I'm telling you, so biased. I don't even want to go into that story. But if you go to Grok, Grok on Twitter, or you go to ChatGPT and just put in a simple question, give me a list of 10 foodstuff that Canada charges a tariff. 10 American foodstuff that Canada charges a tariff to bring in. And also, by the side of it, tell me how much US charges if Canada wants to import that product. Just type in that and you'll be shocked. And I want to show you some of it. I have a lot of slides here, so it's not arranged in any way, but I want to show you. I want to show you guys a few of the things that, and I hope I can find it without having to scroll too much. I'm sorry. Okay, so take a look at this. Food items tariff on US imports, US tariff on Canada. So milk. If you want to bring milk from Canada, from US to Canada, there's a 270% over quarter tariff on it. So if the milk is $1, for you to bring it into US is $270. The same product, when you want to take it from Canada to US doesn't charge you a duty. It's 0%. It's right there. And this is not me. I didn't make up this list. Just go and check. You will see it. Milk is 270%, cheese is 245%, butter is 298%, chicken is 238%, turkey is 179%, egg is 163%, yogurt is 237%, ice cream is 277%, beef is 26.5%. There's a second list. Look at the second part of it. Pork is 0%, peanut butter 295. Look at that. Look at, there's a whole of it. Sausage is 69, flour is 40%, all of that. So it's not right to say, this is where we lose the battle. It's not right to say we're going to tariff you. We're going to add the tariff if you add any more tariff. We are already tariffing a lot. The difference between, so when Trump signed the last deal, everybody's saying, but he made the last deal, NAFTA. What he wanted Canada and US to do was to have free trade. But Canada has a reason, and this is, we need to understand it. Canada has a reason why, you know, they charge a tariff on some of the goods that are coming in. It's called protectionism. And protectionism is when you want to protect your own business, you want to protect your own farmers, you want to protect your own manufacturers. You know, so you say, hey, don't bring in your own product into our country. We're going to put a tariff on it, 25%, 200%, because we want our own indigenous farmers to grow the stuff, right? True. That makes sense. But that's where we need to understand these battles, because it's a simple battle, some of it on just the peripheral. There's nothing more to it. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be worried about. So when you hear him saying reciprocally, saying whatever you tariff us, that's what we're going to tariff you. Canada cannot say, oh, if you tariff us more, we'll tariff you more. Then America will keep saying, okay, we'll increase it. So the battle is just going to keep going like that, you know, and because we're angry and so offended that we don't want to say we started it. We should say, hey, the Canadian population is only 40 million based on the last population census. And we want to protect our own farmers. Is there any way we can have a compromise? That's a better deal than to say, well, if you put a tariff on something you never put a tariff on because we put a tariff on our own, then we're going to increase it. That doesn't work good. And because of that, you know, Doug now said we're going to shut off electricity to the people in the northeastern coast, you know, New York and New Jersey and all of that. And that was wrong. You know, electricity, you shouldn't go there because it's winter and that people live on electricity is different from commercial items. Very, very different from that. Now, there are things that I need to say, very spiritual things that I really need to say for us to understand. In my prayers, remember when I was praying about the border, and I want to go through some of these slides really quickly and show you some things. You know, if I don't do that, I'll never do it. And I don't know, I really don't want to stay long. Maybe I'll stop at an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes, and then we'll do this again another day. Now, this is what you call an obelisk. Let me see if anybody... Does anybody know what an obelisk is? Obelisk. O-B-E-L-I-S-K. An obelisk is a square-shaped stone. The original obelisk used to be carved direct from a stone. You don't build it, you don't mold it, you just carve it that way, square. And then at the top of it, it has what it's called a pyramidium or something of that nature. I've forgotten the name. So it's a pyramid. It has 4 sides and it tapers to the top. There's one. The Washington Monument is an obelisk. And in case you don't know what an obelisk is an obelisk. Yeah, from Egypt, Fabian. You're very right. From Egypt, an obelisk is a is an item in the worship of the sun god. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you guys some things. It's an item in the worship of the sun god. It is expected that because of the triangular and four-sided pyramid on top, that it attracts the sun wherever the sun is, north, south, east, and west. It attracts the sun, and it you know, that the god, the sun god Ra, can come to earth through the obelisk. That's one. The second thing is, most obelisks, there is a carving on it. You write on it. Some of you remember the one that was in Atlanta, Georgia. I went and prayed there 2 days, and then it was destroyed. How many of you remember that story? I won't go into it. You know, we are what we call. I used to jokingly call ourselves, call some of my other prayer group. I used to call us God's special forces, SF. You know, God sends us to a place. I remember. This is going to be a very funny story. Caroline is here. I remember one day I sent Suni. Suni used to be one of our prayer team members, and she was traveling. So I said, can you go pray in Romania for us? God showed me something is about to happen in Romania, and go and pray. And she came back. She said, Henry, please don't send me to ever go and pray in a country on my own again. And some of you know what's going on in Romania now. They just canceled an election. If we don't take time, there's going to be a big war rising in Romania, but we're still praying. In those days, Suni used to tell me, 8 months after you've prayed in a place, something always happens there. I remember when I went to Greece and prayed, and then 8 months after that, not even up to 8 months, the whole islands of Greece caught fire. But I'm not saying it to boast. I'm just saying it to lay a foundation that sometimes when God sends someone to a place to pray, he knows what's about to happen there. Now, about the obelisk, did you know that the boundaries between Canada and US are littered with obelisks? Did you know that? Actually, this picture you're seeing now, it's the line that demarcates Alaska from, is that BC? Yes. It's the line that demarcates Alaska from BC. And so I did some research, and when the angels showed me, I was telling you this is where they were fighting, and I was understanding a lot of things that were going on. I asked God why the border was marked by obelisks. And do you know that the ISB, I think International Border something, is from Canada, is the Canadian side that is taking care of it. The offices are in Canada, and the marks they chose, there are over 200 plus obelisks with things written on it. I remember when I went to pray there one day, one of the days I prayed in one of these borders, you know, the last time I was in Calgary, I went, spent a day, rented a car, and got somebody to, a tracker who took me to one of them, and I prayed at one of them, and I was asking God to explain what was going on, and he told me that the boundaries of Canada have not been secured because it's been offered as a sacrifice. It's been offered up as a sacrifice. And so for Christians praying, those of you that know Michael Van Zanten, get him in touch. I don't know if he has ever gone and prayed in any of these borders. Get him in touch and show him this video. Let him go. I wanted to talk to him. But I got really busy. And that is some of the things Christians are supposed to start praying about, our borders, so that we can, when we say God keep, and do you know that the Canadian, let me show you this. This is why it's very important. The Canadian border, the Canadian anthem is one of the very few anthems that speaks about a boundary and a border. From sea to shining sea. And so there's a purpose for it. God's intention is that it will be carved out and protected. But we are ignorant of the fact that the borders, the boundaries of Canada are being protected by ancestral covenants that are not of God. Especially on the border between Canada and Alaska, and then the Canada and US southwestern coast is horrible. There are altars. I went to some of them. There are altars. There are native, and I'm sorry to be saying it, but it's the plain truth. There are altars. There are people. There are some of these you will go to. You will see things hanging on them. You will see birds, dead birds sacrificed, especially in the winter, in the spring, and in the fall. In the summer, a lot of animals will go and eat it up. So people don't even leave things. But if you go in the spring or in the fall, you will see sacrifices. At least in 5 of the places I went to, you will see people offering burnt sacrifices. You will see plates. You will see food on these. And I didn't understand why. I didn't know why until God opened my eyes to see this case of from sea to shining sea. I don't know if what's her name? I've forgotten her name, but she belongs to Canadian Prayer Wall. I wanted to ask, is there anybody here watching who is a member of the Canadian Prayer Wall? Is there anyone watching who is a member of the Canadian Prayer Wall? I want to ask a question because I've never asked, and I meant to ask her yesterday when we were talking, but I had a meeting and I had to leave. But is there anyone here who is a part of the Canadian Prayer Wall? I'm trying to check my chat. Okay. Okay, I don't see anybody who is part of the Canadian Prayer Wall. But here's what I wanted to say. If you have ever prayed at the tip of the country, I don't know if you saw it, but there are spirits that hang at the tip of the country. And if Canadian Prayer Wall, if you've ever gone to one of the worst places where I saw a lot of battle going on in the realm of the spirit for Canada, was in, I don't know, is it Newfoundland? It's the closest, it's the tip, the most eastern tip of Canada. And at that place, my goodness, it's a mountain overlooking the sea. I mean, it was horrible, the kinds of battle that I saw going on there. If anybody knows about it, just contact. I've never asked anybody, but that's what I experienced praying in that place. And I remember when we went there, when we were coming back, one of the sisters that went with me, the only lady that went with us, there was 5 of us, the only lady that went with us came under such an attack. Such an attack. But Christians, the church needs to begin to pray prophetically and pray consciously, intentionally into possessing the land, into possessing the borders of the land, into God mapping out the country and possessing the borders of the land. That's the second thing. Apart from this whole relationship with US situation, I've explained it to us that we had a leader who chose to position himself with the World Economic Forum and with China at the expense of our relationship with US. China is the mortal enemy of US. You can't be that close to China and a true leader in America would be happy about it. No, he's going to be offended. He's going to say, why? What are you doing? Especially when you'd ask us for free stuff. We give you, when we make 20 airplanes, new ones, we give you the last model. That's what's going on. Do you know that? And so basically, you now share military relationships with China, and they can walk into the plane and do what is called retro. There's a word. What is it called? Where they research this thing they break it down and use it to figure out the science you have for your new models. That's what they do. Remember when I told you about this, when a drone fell in the waters in the Strait of Hormuz close to Iran. Iran captured it and they went and researched the drone and researched it in a way that they could figure out a lot of things about it, even though it was blown up. But we in Canada want to welcome China to do it. And I'm just saying the church has to be aware of this so that we choose. When we pick leaders or when we are picking leaders, we ask them, what relationship do you want to have with Canada? Are we okay with that? If they says, yeah, we want to be close with China, we want to share technology with China, we want to do this, then we should be aware that America is not going to be happy about it. No two ways about it. No two ways about it. It's simple. So Trump is saying, we can't send you guys secrets. We can't send you, what is it called? Intelligence secrets. We can't send you those things, but you use phones that China can get into. It's useless. Very, very useless. Let me show you one more. There's a bunch of things here. I have about 23 pages of slides I wanted to share with us, but let me show you and explain. I'll try and explain them step by step, because these are, well, I've explained this last time. Those are the demons that I saw. I came back and I painted the picture to AI, and he gave me that. So well, I was trying to explain something here. So when I was in Dominican Republic and I experienced the demons, I just showed you that slide. I experienced, it was in Dominican Republic the first time, Curacao, I beg your pardon, the first time, then Dominican Republic the second time. Now, when I was in Dominican Republic, and I told you guys about this, this is a travel advisory that just came out from the US government 3 days ago. This advisory that you see on the screen now. And you are advised, the advisory on Haiti has been there for a while, but the one on Dominican Republic just came out. And the advisory is this: exercise increased caution. Why? Because of crime. And then I asked the simple question. I said, did crime just start in Dominican Republic? Why is it now that you're saying be careful about crime? Let me explain to you. You need to piece these things together. Because in US, Trump is shutting down the spigot of money that was being flowing from American coffers, from USAID, and from all of these NGOs, and there are pastors involved. I have names. I wish God gives me the, I don't want to get in trouble, but if God gives me the, the go ahead to share, I'll share churches and pastors that have become multi-millionaire by registering 501c8 or whatever the organization has to register, and then take American government money and then go to all these countries and do horrible things. I'm telling you, the horrible things they're doing, you will not believe it. So why crime is rising now, and they're warning. Do you know about the girl that went to, I think it's a black girl, she went to Dominican Republic and got lost in the sea. She just went for a swim with a guy, an American guy too, and she just disappeared, and nobody, now that's why they are giving the advisory. But let me explain to you why the advisory is coming up now, or why crime is rising now. Because the money is shut off. So criminals are like, go back on the streets. They would easily walk into a place, get settled. Oh, so before they were turning them into gay. They were turning them into lesbians. I'm telling you, you'd be shocked at the amount of lesbians and gays in these places. And a lot of them were telling me directly that if I become gay, I get money. The other people were saying that, oh, if I want to change my sex, if I want to do the surgery, I get more money. Apart from the fact that America will pay, go and ask, for instance, any AI, my African brothers and sisters who are watching. Did you know that at least 13 countries, America conditioned aid to 13 African countries on the grounds that they should lower their standards and remove their laws against gays? Yeah, Obama. It started in 2014, Obama. Or was it 2012? I beg your pardon. Remember, Kenya was one of those that fought against it. There were 3 countries, only 3 countries fought against it. Only 3 countries out of those that I know of. Ghana gave in. Ghana gave in like that. I wanted to show you guys a lot of things, but I don't want to go into. Ghana just simply folded and allowed America to give her money as long as they removed it. That is why, take note. You guys don't know what's going on here. You remember when the LA fire started? The mayor of LA was where? In Ghana. Go look at it. So when we finish praying and then things start manifesting in the flesh, and you're like, wow. The mayor of LA was in Ghana because of the inauguration of the president of Ghana, the parties that were going on, because he accepted. Even Nigeria accepted 70-80%. They were using the money they were giving Nigeria to fund Boko Haram that was kidnapping, Christians and killing all of them. That's what they were doing. As long as you allow the law. If you don't allow the law, we will fund your enemy. And that's what they were doing. Let me give you this scripture. There's this scripture. I hope I can find it. Let me just see if I can get to it as quick as I can. Let me see if I can get to it. I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me. This thing is slow. There's a scripture I want to share with us that will help us understand. I don't think it's there. It's the other way. It's Revelation chapter 18, verse 2 and 3. I can't recite it off heart, but because I really need to give us the exact words. There's just so much that is to say. So I'm gonna have to come back. I wanted to explain all of these slides to us. There's so much to say from them. Oh, there it is. Revelation chapter 18, verse 2 to 4. Next time I'll try and be a little bit more organized. I had so many meetings today. Here's what it says. It's talking about, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen and is become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And verse 4, and I heard another voice saying, Come out of her, my people, and be ye not partakers of her sins, that you do not receive her plagues. So that scripture, if you listen to anybody who does eschatology, there are only two nations that fit this bill of Babylon. Only two. Some people add the original Babylon, which is around Iraq and in the Middle East, but there are only most scholars say it's only two countries that will fit this bill: America or the Vatican, and it can apply to both of them. But in this case, and I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it applies to America big time. I know I was debating somebody who was asking me why I favor Trump. I said, no, I don't favor Trump. I favor the truth. And one of the things, it feels, I'm going to say some things that will shock some of us. Why you're seeing all of this rioting, they are burning Tesla buildings and they are doing this. It's a manifestation. Demons are angry because Trump cut off the deals these demons were making. Because look at verse 3, for all the nations have drunk of her wine and of her wrath, of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich. Merchants are people who sell things. What is America selling to the world? Do you know that America was using its wealth and money to sell immorality, abortion, and gay laws across the world? Across the world. And the nations of this earth were getting rich with her fornication. So when Trump came and shut all of those things down, what you're seeing is, and can I tell you something? It's going to go beyond America. There's going to be rioting in other nations. That's coming. We're praying and saying, God, peace, peace, peace. Hopefully there won't be much, but there will be already. What you're seeing with crime rising in places like what do you call it? Where I showed you a flag of it, Dominican Republic. That's demonic manifestations, because it's like when you try to win somebody from wine, you take what they want, what they like, they revolt. That's manifestation. Burning places, fighting. Oh no, I mean, what he wants to do is good. But the anger against it is a sign of the demonic forces at work in it. And sadly, Canada, remember what I told you about the vision I had when I was fighting those demons? The Canadian spirit I saw refused to help me. That's why I said Doc Ford made a very wrong thing when he started saying, Canada, America, we know this is not you. Your people are good. It's your leader. You're trying to put trouble between the because it's Trump, then we spoil his name. No. There's a battle that is going on between evil and good, and Canada needs to choose. We need leaders that will understand what is going on. There's a lot of shaking, and if it pans out, if it works out, there's going to be a lot of the forces of hell around the nations of the earth will become dry. Do you know what's happening in South Africa? Because America pulled their hands out, South Africa has to face reality. Countries will face reality. The countries that America has been selling things to have to face reality. They have to be delivered. The church in those nations will face the same thing. They'll be like, wow, we didn't know about all of these things. But they will have to say, okay, going forward from here, we need to have a mind. When we pick leaders, when we pick people in the parliament and whatever, do we have these things in mind about what they should do? Those will be important questions to ask and answer. Very important questions to ask and answer. I want to explain this next slide to us because it's very, very important, and I'll stop here. A lot of the things people don't understand why America or Trump can be offended. So what you're seeing now is what you call is a chart that shows North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, their expenditure, and Canada happens to be a part of NATO. I don't know if Mexico is. Mexico, I don't think it is, but Canada, US, and some European countries, especially the Western European countries. And this chart is a chart of the expenses, who is spending more. The blue is America, and all the other colors are all the other countries. Now, if you look at the left side, there are certain numbers I put there that I wanted us to take note of and just bear in mind. And I want to say this, explain this, and I may have to come back again. I hate being longer than an hour and a half. America's debt is $36 trillion. Their yearly budget is $7 trillion. From taxes and business, they take in $5 trillion, but their expense every year is $7 trillion. That means they have a $2 trillion excess. Their budgets will constantly be over by $2 trillion because from taxes and from business, they take in every year $5 trillion, but their expense is $7 trillion. So every year they will be adding $2 trillion to that $36 trillion if they don't do anything else. And I didn't put those numbers here. Their defense budget is almost $1 trillion every year, between $800 to $1 trillion, $800 billion to $1 trillion. So if your budget is $7 trillion and your defense is $1 trillion, already 1/7 is gone right there. Now, apart from the budget, the fees to service their debt every year is $1 trillion. So $2 trillion is already gone. Apart from the extra 2 that you don't have, 2 is already gone. Now, I'm explaining all of this for you to understand that when Trump says, I'm pulling away from this, everybody will be like, oh, why is he talking like this? This guy is a bully, blah, 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 blah. But this is where all the money is going. And half of these countries hate him, including Canada. The hatred we have, it's not just to Trump, it's to US. That's why I said hatred is not the reaction God wants from us. It's not. I have charts that I was going to show you, the economic standings between America or between Canada and Ukraine. And so we should ask ourselves these questions. What does God want for our nation? That we can't just be praying, God, give us righteous leaders, give us righteous. You need to know what are the righteous things these leaders can do. What are the unrighteous things others have done that we didn't know? And then these ones that are coming up, we ask them, please, can you do this? Can you, all these places we're spending money, can you withdraw us from those places? Let's try and recoup. Let's try and pay off our debt. Because can I tell you 3 things? There are 3 things that will destroy the US from prophetic knowledge and from a lot of things people have said. 3 things. Number 1, hatred from inside it. Number 2, financial failure. And number 3, a war with many nations that they didn't plan for. So hatred from inside it, financial failure, and a war with many nations that they didn't plan for. Trump has positioned himself against all of them, all of those points. Hatred from within. Anybody that is not a citizen that you can remove who came in illegally should leave. Even those who are here, they are legal. There's somebody now who, the history is in court to try and get him out. We remove them. Biden let the border open, and then people were walking in from both the north and the south. And can I say this? Canada helped. I'm telling you people the truth, man. Canada helped. Helped in a bad way. I think God has given me, go ahead to share this. I'll share it with you. One of the things God told me that, and there's so much I can say about this, because, when you're praying and God says things to you that you don't understand, you research it. And I have a slide here that I was going to show you. Maybe next time I'll show you. I researched, do you know how Canada's population has grown. The first census we did was in 18 something. And then from 1950, Canada's population demographics changed seriously. There have been 2 time points in the population growth of Canada. And the first one was in 1950. The second one was in 2015. Trudeau. God told me there was a specific policy change that increased the population of Canada basically from 3 countries. Now, don't tell, I'm just saying this is what God showed me. If you're Canadian, you know what I'm talking about. The population of Canada, the next census, I have so much I can say. The next census, if they will tell you the truth, 3 countries have grown to almost outgrow any other country in Canada, population-wise. Did you know that? Oh, well, actually, I would say 2 countries and 1 region. Chinese. The Chinese own the Western coast now. Sadly, is the truth. Indians and Middle Eastern people. I'm not against immigration from any group of people. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that I am privy to the fact that a lot of it was done purposely and with the full knowledge and intent that it was contrary to American politics and policy. We open doors. Let me give you a good instance. It's like you're in an apartment building or you're in a block of homes, and this guy owns his own house. Somebody knocks on his door and he says, "No, I won't let you in." Then your neighbor says, "Hey, come in," and he goes in through the neighbor, and there's an entrance, a middle door that is always open because you and your neighbor are friends. That's what Canada did to the US. A lot of us don't know. We allowed people to come in with the intent that we would allow them, because if you gave them green papers, they don't need that visa anymore. So it's one thing to say the crowd from the south was more, yes, but the crowd from the north was unique. They didn't need visas anymore. And it was done on purpose. I don't want to go into that. But one of the reasons why I want to say it and how God made me realize it was when God was teaching me the principles, spiritual principles to look out for. And I shared this one day. I was reading Exodus, and God said to me, everything you see in the first 5 chapters of Exodus, you can apply it to Canada. Everything. And so I studied the first 5 chapters of Exodus, and I was blown away. I remember I would ask God, when I read in the Bible, and the Bible says, "And there arose a Pharaoh who knew not God." I said, how does that apply to Canada? He said, yes, a leader who doesn't know God will consciously destroy the legacy of the people. Are you telling me that there were no libraries, no chroniclers who would write down what Israel had done? To the extent that a new leader would come up and just overlook all of it and destroy the people that had helped, because Israel is Joseph's people. And Pharaoh woke up one day and just decided these people should be our slaves. We don't want them as our friends anymore. And that's what happened. Population issue. They started counting. They said these people are too much. They give birth too fast and everything. Population 1950. And so the population of Canada, the plan of the devil was that the population of Canada will be a population right beside the US that will be antagonistic. And I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying that any spiritual man, because I know I belong to a prayer team of some people who have the ears of the president. And I don't say this to boast, the president of US. And I've heard them say these things, and I'm like, wow. This is where the contention comes from. So when our population is going to be a population of people that can easily be offended by our neighbors, and our neighbors are saying, hey guys, please, can you be careful about this? Because we give you your citizens don't need a visa to come in. Be careful who you give this to. Can we maintain the same standard? That's why I put a picture of this thing. All these things we're doing are just, we're reacting in the flesh, which we should not be reacting. So I want to stop here because it's almost 1 hour 40 minutes. I'll come back and there's just so much more I have to share with data and everything. I want to talk about population. I'll tell you guys, I'll end with this story. I called Statistics Canada. There was one time I was calling them 2 times a day, for like one whole week. 2 times a day I would call Statistics Canada. Can you email me this? Can you email me this? Can you email me this? I said, there was a lady I spoke to and she said, it is the policy of Canada that we don't count the Christians in Canada. I'm like, is it that you count, but you don't take note, or you have a conscious policy not to take note of who is a Christian in Canada? Yes, it is a conscious policy that we don't take note of who is a Christian in Canada. You can never, from Canada, I have the slide. I don't want to go back to it. You can never go to Canada Office of Statistics and say how many Christians are there in Canada, and Canada Statistics Canada will give you numbers. If they have it, they refuse to give it to me. I even had somebody else call. Maybe they've noted me and they won't give it. Nope, we don't take note of number of Christians. But almost every other country, every other religion, every other thing they take note of. Do you know how many Muslims? Yes. Do you know how many people from China? Yes. Do you know how many people from India? Yes. Do you know how many people from here? Yes. Do you know how many Christians? No, we don't keep that. We cry for this nation. I hope now we are wide awake and we can begin to take note of this. I want to stop here. Does anybody have a point to make or a question? Something you don't agree with? Anything you don't agree with? I had 23 pages. I think I've only talked from 4 pages. I had 23 pages of information I wanted to share with us that God had given me go ahead that I can share. But I had 23 pages I wanted to share with us. But I want to reiterate, please, let's not respond from anger. Let's just go back to God in prayer, in repentance. God, heal our land. God, heal our land. Isn't that's part of our anthem, from sea to shining sea. Let's uproot those obelisks. Let's put an end to all those covenants that maintain our territorial integrity. Do you know Canada is joined to Alaska, but Alaska belongs to US? There's a reason. So anyway, hey, man of God, Hayden, good to see you. Marty, God bless you, man of God, good to see you. Good to see you all. I'll come back next time and delve into some more things. I want to talk about indigenous nations at the border, and I'm going to talk about the regions. How many of you heard Trump say, oh, we're going to divide it into 2 and we'll make 2 states out of it? Can I be frank with you? If we have a good leader, this thing is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. There's just a few assurances they are looking for, or he is looking for, and there are leaders that don't care. I'm not saying, that's why when you hear him say America first, or you hear him say love the country, care for the country, there are some leaders that won't care, but he cares. He wants protection for his country. And I hope that makes sense to us. So if there's nothing, I'm going to thank all of you for coming on and watching. God knows my heart. I don't like doing this. I actually don't. I'd rather do what God has asked me to do in other places, but coming live and talking, I felt it was time to. I have so much more from 2002 that in 2022 that God has, opened my ears to, and that we've prayed into. I believe that the Russian government is going to agree with the ceasefire. So there's going to be a 30-day ceasefire. What I see is that there is going to be an interruption, almost an interruption or an interruption within those 30 days. And it's going to be a provocation from Ukraine. And then it's going to try to escalate some more. And then it's going to tamp down again. The demons of hell are really working hard to see that that war escalates, and I had things to show you that will show you, because I prayed at the Ukrainian border. I prayed at the two places actually in Ukraine in 2022 when I went, and it wasn't easy. You can't travel by anything except by train. You can't even go by road. That was just when the war was picking up. A few places were okay, there was a brother who has a church there now. I think he's dead, which is why I don't like this war. He died there. He went and fought in the Ukrainian army, and then he got killed. And now they just grab people on the road, on the street, and conscript you into the army, and you become a part of the army, and it's sad what is going on. Easily can escalate to a third world war. Easily can escalate. There are demons that are ready to escalate that thing to a third world war, and before you know it, I'm praying into that. In the next few months, we are obviously going to, the Pope is in a vegetative state. They won't tell you that now. They will say he's in the hospital. They're just keeping him alive. He's almost gone. I'm going to be shocked if he survives it. I don't know. I don't want to say, I'm not speaking evil, but there's supposed to be a transition. And then we need to be careful who the next Pope is. We need to go back to a little bit of a conservative Pope, not a global Pope. Otherwise, I want to give you one negative or some negative news, and I don't mean them to scare you. One of the dangerous things about America pulling away from the North Atlantic Treaty Organizations, on one hand, I like the idea because that's a man trying to save money for his country. On the other hand, I'm afraid of the idea. Here is why. We know that in the end time, the old Roman Empire is going to be revived, and the Roman Empire is going to be all of Europe. And so America pulling away from NATO, already you heard what happened, and I had that video. The moment Zelensky left US and went to UK, Trudeau left Canada and went to UK. He went to London. I have pictures of it. I have videos of it. He was the only American president. The US didn't go. Mexico didn't go. He went. And in going, they said, oh, if America won't stand with us, we're going to stand on our own. We're going to build our own. They said Ursula von der Leyen, or what's her name, the leader of the European Union, that woman, she said, we're going to put $800 and something billion into our military, and we're going to keep fighting. And they all encouraged Zelensky. And what I am sensing is, if America pulls away from NATO, it can expedite the formation of the reviving of the old Roman Empire. And that is going to be horrible. That's scary. If you know end time chronology of events, that's something Christians need to be very, very careful about. A Pope that is conservative, righteous, and godly, according to Roman Catholic standards, will slow it down. That's one. But this Pope was too liberal and too global minded for my liking. He said things and did things that were horrible. That's why, and I hate to say this, I don't want to offend people, but that's why he's living the way he's living. And that's why I said I'll be surprised if he makes it, because God wanted to remove him. Because if you notice, the plan of God for the earth right now is to pause a lot of the actions of the global powers and give us time, give us respite, give us peace for a season. Because if there's no pause, what will happen is that there will be a globalization of the world. There will be, escalation of the globalization of the world, which we don't want. And for some reason, we thank God that this is happening now. And Trump had 4 years of pause and then starting again. So a lot of us respond to him as a human being, but look at the agenda of heaven, please. Don't look at the man, look at the agenda of heaven, and he has signed up for the agenda of heaven for some reason. I'm not saying he's righteous or anything. I'm just saying he lines up with the plan that God has shown me. That's my favorite in favoring for him, and that should be us. When we say thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, that's it. Don't get offended if Trump says the same thing too, and oh, I hate this man. And then because of that, you say thy kingdom come, don't come because of Trump. Hello. It's emotional. Very, very emotional. But thank you very much, everybody. I'm happy this is educating a lot of us. I'm really, really happy it's educating a lot of us. But I'll try and come back on Friday maybe and add some more to it, maybe 30, 40 minutes. But I remember when I was in Dominican Republic and I was praying, and they were telling me that these are Americans who are coming. I did not know. I didn't know what to believe. So when Trump came in and started slashing USAID, 8% of the funds that used to go to USAID has been removed. Can you believe it? And do you know how they cut them? When he wrote the executive order and said, every external expense, every NGO, stop the money you're spending. Guess what happened? They said, no, we're not stopping. They felt they were above him. He said, really? And then Doge went in and saw what was going on. I have names of pastors, bishops, Catholic priests, Catholic organizations who were spending money, transitioning. They were using babies as experiment. If you fall sick and go to a hospital, how many of you still saw the news about the woman that was captured in, was it Poland? She had 60-something kidneys in a suitcase, a cooler suitcase, 60-something kidneys in a suitcase for sale. Wow. The reality of what's going on, if we become aware of it, we'll pray and say, God, whatever you want to do, let me know. I need to be on the right side. I don't need to be fighting what you're doing. That's the wrong thing we can do. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. I will see you all on Friday when I'll do some more of this. And I'll take questions. If you have questions on Friday, I'll try and arrange my slide so that it will be boom, 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 and I'll explain them. But thank you very much, everybody. I will see you on Friday. Thank you, and God bless you.
When you hunger, you are blessed. When you want him, he will bless you. As the deer pants and as the deer longs, we're yearning for you. We are longing for you, Lord. So we dive deeper, deep dive in Vantage Point.
This is a Vantage Point with Pastor Henry podcast.